Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1596B, and today's date is June 20th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Abandoned Ship. The trap has been set. There is no way out. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, we see the crisis with the immigration situation is continuing, and the corporate media is still pushing the idea that, children are being separated from their families. This is not good. And they're really blowing this out of proportion. And we see already that Trump has signed an executive order where it will keep families together, where he's saying that we don't want to separate families. We don't want this to happen. But a little bit later, we're going to be looking at statistics. And I think he already knew this, that most of the children coming into this country, first of all, are not toddlers. If we go back to 2014, 2015 with Obama, when we did the X22 report, we reported that most of the children that are coming into this country come alone, first of all, and a lot of them are teens or older, in their 20s already. And again, we are seeing that the corporate media is using this to distract from the IG report. Now, what's very interesting is that attorney Rabia Chaudhry said in a tweet Sunday that people must be in the U.S. in order to apply for asylum, and that asylum seekers on the southern border have to figure out how to get inside. Now, this is completely false. This is not true. People may apply for asylum at U.S. ports of entry without illegally entering the country. And Nielsen came out and said, yeah, they can go to these different places and they can apply for asylum. They don't have to sneak into the country. You don't need to do this. But again, they're just out there pushing different stories. Now, let's go to the statistics about all these unaccompanied, minors coming into the country. 80% of the minors cared for by HHS arrived in the U.S. alone. Remember, let's go back to 2014, 2015 with Obama. Why did he have this done? Why did he have minors come up here alone? Well, it enabled the family then to be brought up to the U.S. This was the plan they had. Send the children, and then the families follow later. So right now, 80% of the minors cared for by HHS arrived in the U.S. alone, unaccompanied, without a parent. These were not separated by the government. They didn't have parents. 52% of minors cared for by HHS are 16 years or older. We talked about this back in 2014, 2015, when these individuals were teens, they were in their 20s. They're not little toddlers. A very tiny, small percentage were toddlers. And we can see right now, the corporate media, they knew this, because the same thing was happening during the Obama administration, but they didn't report on that. So right now, he signed the executive order because he knows that he's not going to be separating these people because they don't have parents, 80% of them. So nothing has changed. The same thing is happening right now. Now, it's very interesting. Out in Europe, we see that Europe is preparing the crackdown on illegal immigrants. And it looks like Merkel is going to be working with the European Union. They're going to be coming up with some type of plan, and Italy is not included in this. So we can see a lot of things are starting to happen right now, and Trump is out there saying, listen, we're not going to be giving any more aid to countries that send illegal immigrants to the U.S. Remember, this was all part of the plan. They had billboards down in these South American countries telling everyone to come up to the U.S., send your children. This was all part of the plan. We basically reported on this back in 2014, 2015 with multiple reports on how this was all done. And yesterday we talked about how Obama went through all this with timeline. And we could see right now the corporate media, they didn't have anything. They couldn't push a false flag. Maybe they tried. It looks like in a Q post that the false flag was stopped, and we'll be talking about that in a little bit. But we see right now they needed some type of distraction to keep what is happening out of the news. And what is happening? Well, it's that Inspector General report. And this is just a report. This is just the tip of the iceberg. This is not even anything. And we're seeing a lot of bombshells come out of this report. I mean, we talked about how Hillary Clinton, she wasn't really under investigation. No one was really doing any type of investigative work looking into the email scandal. We see Horowitz is no longer convinced that the FBI was collecting all of Strzok and Page's texts, even outside the 5-month window in which a technical glitch, that's the word they use when they erase things and they hide things, after the 2016 election, prevented archiving. Horowitz is investigating allegations that the FBI officials edited Agents 302 forms. We'll be talking about that a little bit later in some of Q posts, which document an interview with a suspect or a witness. A Form 302 is used by FBI agents to report or summarize the interviews that they conduct and contains information from the notes taken during the interview by the non-primary agent. It consists of information taken from the subject rather than details about the subject themselves. This is particularly illuminating. Why? Because it's been long suspected that fired Deputy Director Andrew McCabe had agents edit or delete the 302 forms created after former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn's interview. This might explain why the judge in Flynn's case ordered Special Counsel Robert Mueller to turn over any exculpatory evidence to Flynn's defense team. Flynn's legal team did not make the request. Instead, Judge Emmett G. Sullivan issued the order, or at his discretion, invoking the Brady Rule, which requires prosecutors to turn over previously unfiled evidence that might have material impact on defendant's case. Interestingly, 2 days before the order, Mueller filed a motion for an agreed-upon protective order regarding the use of evidence in the case, including sensitive materials provided to Flynn's lawyers by the Office of the Special Counsel. This may also explain why Mueller has agreed to postpone Flynn's sentencing due to the status of the Special Counsel's investigation. And the unmasked agents are Sally Moyer, Agent 1, Kevin Kleinsman, Agent 5. As reported on Friday, Moyer referred to Clinton as the president in a text exchange with another FBI employee 4 days after interviewing her, according to the Department of Justice Inspector General report. So we can see there's a lot of things coming out of here, and everything is starting to break down. And we're seeing that all these text messages, these text exchanges, well, they were hidden, and they're all coming out right now. And what we're seeing is a complete and total breakdown of all the lies. And again, we discussed this before. They lie, and then they lie again. And if that lie doesn't work, they lie some more. And basically, it all catches up with them. We see out in Afghanistan, the Senate Armed Services Committee, Lieutenant General Austin Scott Miller, claimed that and remember, he took the place of the other general that was in Afghanistan. He's saying that he's seeing progress in the war against the Islamic State, not against the Taliban, because the reason why he was replaced was to go after the Islamic State, just like the U.S., the Pentagon now, is actually fighting the Islamic State. Remember, the Islamic State is the paid mercenary army of the deep state. This is who we are fighting right now. And he's saying that we're seeing progress in there, and this war is going to come to an end. And he sees that there will be an end to this. And once again, we're going to see an end to the war in Syria, in Iraq, against the paid mercenary army. If you remember back to Obama and the generals back then, they said that this war was going to go on for years and years and years. It will never come to an end. It's impossible. Well, of course it is, because when you control the paid mercenary army and you control the U.S. Army, you can't do anything. You're not really fighting the Islamic State. You're working with them to go after another individual, which was Assad. That's why this was going to take as long as it needed to take, because they needed Assad out of there. But we can see everything is starting to turn around now, and we're going to see progress in all these areas, and things are about to change big time. We see U.S. senators, they voted to block the sale of the F-35s to Turkey, and they're saying that they're not allowing this because Russia came in, sold the S-400 to Turkey, and basically Turkey is just going to turn around and say, listen, forget the F-35. We're going to go to Russia. We're going to purchase their jets. That's basically what's going to happen. We see NATO right now. They are getting ready for a major drill in Norway. Of course, Russia is out there saying, this is being used to provoke us. It's not going to work. This is going to be one of the largest ever North Atlantic Treaty Organization war drills involving 35,000 participants. And of course, they're doing this right up at the border of Russia to try to push Russia. It hasn't worked in the past. It's not going to work now. All of their tactics that they were trying to use to push Russia into war, it is not going to work whatsoever. We see right now in Iran is saying, listen, the European proposal is not enough to save the nuclear deal. I don't think they're coming up with the funds they wanted. All those funds that were being siphoned into Iran from the United States and being then moved to different areas, laundered money, used for covert operations. It looks like Europe is just not coming up with a good enough deal. And Iran is saying right now that this deal might come to an end. And basically, they want assurances for international trade, including financing of projects by European banks, the ability to continue selling oil on the international market. They still want the funding that they were receiving before. And again, I don't think Europe is ready to do this. And I think this whole thing is going to completely fall apart. Now, let's get into some of Q's breadcrumbs here. We made a lot of posts. And again, this is all going to refer back to the news that we've been talking about. This is post 1557, June 19th. Free Iran, fight, fight, fight. Regime change. People have the power. We stand with you. Now, I know Trump's policy is not to have regime change. I know Q is saying, free Iran, let's have regime change. Now, I don't personally agree with regime change unless it's a grassroots uprising, which is not controlled by NGOs, Soros, and the rest. Then yes, the people have the right to remove their government and replace that government. Now, once again, is this going to be a grassroots uprising? Well, we don't know as of yet. And once again, we will continue to monitor this and see what Q has to say. But again, if the U.S. is pushing this, I think this is a big mistake. But we'll have to wait and see. But we know that on June 30th, Iranians are going to come out and they're going to protest free Iran. We're going to see many different protests around the world. And the people are going to be pushing for a change in government. Now, if this ends up in being elections and having different leaders come in and there's a change, then yes, this is a grassroots uprising. If we see riots, if we see destruction, if we see that kind of operation, then we know this is not a grassroots uprising and this is being pushed in another way. But we will look at this a little bit later to see how this all turns out. Post 1558, June 19th, declassify. Lisa Page, Viva la Resistance. And then Q says Viva with an A versus Viva with an E. And then he has parentheses with JC in parentheses, in brackets, I should say. Y classified by Intel Communications at highest level. Define title. Define role with Mueller. Exchange shelters. Very senior member Q. And as for Viva la Resistance message, it was disclosed in the IG report. And again, this was about FBI Attorney 2 sent an instant message to FBI Attorney 1, commenting on the amount of money the subject of an FBI investigation had been paid while working on the Trump campaign. FBI Attorney 1 responded, "It is making you rethink your commitment to the Trump administration." FBI Attorney 2 replied, "Hell no," and then added, "Viva la Resistance." FBI Attorney 1 responded that Trump was going to eliminate all of our pensions in order to pay for people like the person discussed in the instant message exchange, and FBI Attorney 1 and FBI Attorney 2 then began a discussion of federal pension and retirement issues. So just to be clear here, the Viva la Resistance message that was sent to Lisa Page from an unidentified FBI attorney, known only as FBI Attorney 2, well, Q is identifying him here. Bracket, JC, close bracket. So who is JC? Well, an anon kind of discovered who this is. It's John Carlin. John Carlin is the acting Assistant Attorney General for National Security at the Department of Justice, a position he has held since March of 2013. In addition, he has been the Principal Deputy Assistant Attorney General and Chief of Staff for the National Security Division since 2011. From 2007 to 2011, he served in leadership roles at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, ultimately serving as Chief of Staff to FBI Director Robert S. Mueller. A career federal prosecutor, he served in 2007 as National Coordinator of the Computer Hacking and Intellectual Property Program within the Department of Justice Criminal Division. So no wonder Rosenstein made sure that this was redacted. Now, in another post later on, Q confirms some information, and we'll be talking about that. But let's go to post 1559, June 19th, where Q says, sample, why so much attention? And he gives 2 links, and these links are from the Daily Beast and The Voice, where it says QAnon, the crazy pro-Trump conspiracy melts down, and Vice, a guide to QAnon, the new king of right-wing conspiracy theories. And basically, Q is saying conspiracy, and then he says Q. For the most part, the Mockingbird media wants to avoid talking about QAnon. Why? Because they don't want to give it any attention. However, there comes a point where they can't ignore this anymore. They have to start spinning up their machinery in order to actively discredit it. And we're at that phase right now. And I think it's a little too late at this point, because we see already that Q is continually confirming that he is with the president. Let's move on to post 1560, June 19th. And an anon wrote, carrot, carrot, carrot. I like that. Bracket J_C bracket with an extra P in twat equals JPC. What a coincidence, Q says. And what they're talking about is this text message from Trump. I think of something more concerning than a law enforcement officer suggesting that they're going to use their powers to affect an election. Inspector General Horowitz on what was going on with the numerous people regarding my election, a rigged witch hunt, ! And then there's a lowercase p there. Well, this anon picked it up and said, P, JPC. So this refers to John P. Carlin. And basically, this is a confirmation. So let's move on to post 1561. Q says, what is this? Would she know? And leaves us a link. Now, this is a video from Shirley Jackson. This is Texas Democrat Representative Shirley Jackson Lee. So here is the video of what she's talking about.
Dealing with the Republicans' attempt to undermine the Mueller investigation and as well to fire Attorney General Rosenstein, which they're planning to do on Friday.
Now, if you listen carefully, she says in the video that the Republicans are planning on firing Rod Rosenstein this Friday. Q hasn't told us that. None of the Anons knew that. The only possible way she could have known these spoilers was it was leaked to her. However, maybe this was intentional. Maybe this was disinformation. If the good guys are trying to round up and kick out the leakers, someone might have intentionally given bad intel to someone they suspected of being a leaker. So someone who potentially works on one of the subcommittees, Representative Jackson Lee, which she works on, they in turn leaked the bad intel to Representative Lee, thinking it was true. Trump may have no intention of firing Rod Rosenstein. In fact, given their 2.5-hour meeting at the White House, I doubt it. But we can see right now, the deep state, those who are part of the system, they're in panic mode right now. And they're trying to throw up whatever they can to try to stop what's coming. And they're getting sloppy and making very public mistakes, just like Durbin, who said that Trump had 2 phones, which was confidential. So we can see right now that this might have been bait and she might have taken it. So Q went on to post 1562, text A, text B, text C, text B missing and takes 4 attempts to recover due to glitch. Text B supplied in IG report. How can you obtain text A and C, but somehow the most incriminating text B is lost due to a glitch, recovering later only after classified intel methods applied? This is the level of corruption we are dealing with. The American people are not stupid. So basically, we talked about this yesterday, how Horowitz went ahead and basically found out where the text was with this database that existed, and he got the text message. And it sounds like it's like BleachBit all over again when Clinton completely destroyed all her emails. So Q just wanted to confirm to everyone that he is, or she, or the group of individuals are with the president. And this is in post 1563, took a photograph of a face, the side of a face. And down below, Q says, "What a wonderful day." And basically, an anon in post 1564 said, "Come on, Q, who is it?" This is the owl photo all over again. A lot have happened today, and anons are focusing on damn blurry photo of some old man. Well, the old man was 45. That's what Q said. 45 is the president. And basically, an anon took a picture of the president's face, matched it with the photo, with the wrinkles, the age spots, and whatnot, to show that, yes, this is a picture of the president, which is a confirmation. And we need to remember that this was taken with one of the phones, and we know that Durbin knew that Trump had 2 phones. This was confidential, but he leaked it out in public. So an anon had a theory of why POTUS decided to put this out there, or Q decided to put this out there from his iPhone, which he used to tweet. And the anon said, well, I think POTUS had the reason is more than a pic. Q posts concerning the senator that knew POTUS had 2 phones, and SJL, who knew that Rod Rosenstein is to be fired Friday. Premise: POTUS always knew they were monitoring him. Cleaned White House, clean leakers, let iPhone open intentionally, another trap. How did they know he had 2 phones? POTUS told them. He had talked with Kim personally over the phone. They didn't know and figure out that he had a second phone. POTUS told someone on an open iPhone Rod Rosenstein was to be fired Friday. They heard this, and SJL revealed it. Earshot of POTUS is their capture of this call. Q teams swiped the pic from them. So we can see right now, all of this is happening at the same time, and basically they're setting up the trap, and it's working. Now, what's very interesting, in Q's posts, Q continually posts, "What a wonderful day." This was back in many different posts, 1545, 1522, 1504. What a wonderful day, what a wonderful day, what a wonderful day. Even with the picture of the president's face, it's what a wonderful day. Now, the only thing about this is Q is referring to something, because Q continually uses this phrase. And if we look at other individuals, they've also used this phrase, and they use this as code words. George Bush on Twitter, "It's a wonderful day." John McCain, "Wonderful day." And it seems like this is code for something. So this is very interesting. Now, post 1565, 1566 is just more confirmations that Q is with the president, and basically shows different timestamps and things like that, and also post 1567, and basically shows that, yes, this is a confirmation that Q is with the president, and this is not a conspiracy anymore. So let's move on to post 1568. And this is a picture an Anon put up of a soldier on the back of the soldier's helmet. Where we go one, we go all. And Q says, thank you for your service. God bless. Stay safe. Q. We're going to be moving on to post 1569. This is June 20th. False flag prevented. Remember, Q way back said the IG report was going to come out. They tried to push it to where there was really no school anymore. Maybe certain schools still have school. Trying to push it out where they couldn't push a false flag, and it looks like the false flag was prevented. Next, immigration, child separation. And he made a spelling mistake in child, which it was CHIKD. Narrative change critical. Identification, talking points. Distract, IG report. Now, that's what we talked about. This whole immigration thing is to distract everyone in the U.S. from the IG report, from the hearings, from Korea. Iran next. Regime in trouble. And I believe the regime in Iran, there's deep state operatives, and they're in trouble right now, just like in North Korea. And I think this is what Q is trying to say by regime change, removing the deep state, allowing Iran to be free to operate without the deep state, just like in North Korea, where Kim Jong-un, once the deep state was removed, he was able to travel outside of North Korea. People awake, projection. These people are sick, winning. Post 1570. Q basically took a snapshot of 1569, and at the bottom said spelling error due to mobile phone. So the spelling mistake in child, CHIKD, that wasn't a message or anything. He just didn't want anyone to go and research that. That was an actual spelling mistake. Now, he goes back to basically Sheila Jackson Lee, SGL, and in post 1571, he says the following, or she, or the group known as Q, have a peek at her ring. Just sick. Part of the club. Q. Now that's very interesting. But first, let's look at Sheila Jackson. Now, when Sheila Jackson came into office, she wasn't worth that much. But in 2013 on, her wealth, her net worth, doubled in 1 year. Now that's just simply amazing, being a government employee. How does this happen where your net worth can go from like 900,000 all the way up to 3.5 million? Gee, I wonder how. So let's take a closer look at her ring. And if you look, it is a ring with a triangle within a triangle within a triangle. And basically what that means, this is a symbol for pedophilia. And Q is saying that she is part of the club. Also, she receives leaks. Let's move on to post 1572. This is June 20th. Read drops RE 302 mod, Department of Justice forced to supply. So the 302s that we're talking about that were changing stuff, Department of Justice is forced to supply them. Kill brackets Rod Rosenstein. The fireworks are coming. Rank and file testifying as informants. Hussein White House senior staffer on record. So we have individuals testifying as informants. Hussein's White House senior staffer is on record testifying. Then Q says, pain in all caps. House of Cards coming down. These people are sick. Doctors treating. Q. Move on to post 1573, June 20th. And Q is referring back to post 1269. Are you awake? Do you see yourself? The mainstream media is a propaganda tool of the left. Do you see Facebook, Twitter, Google censoring non-left individuals? Do you see the corruption? Do you see the evil? Are you a slave? Are you controlled? Are you a sheep? Are you awake? Do you think for yourself, learn the truth, facts, history, the Great Awakening? They are losing control. Respect opinion or attack those who dare challenge the narrative. It's right in front of you. Who are the true fascists? Who are the true racists? Why does the Antifa flag mimic that of the Nazis? Coincidence? For humanity, wake up, learn. Fight, fight, fight. Where we go one, we go all. Q. Now below that, Q wrote, they want you divided. They call us names. They make threats. They censor. They lie. They project. They cheat. They steal. They harm. They are sick. They are evil. At some point, the streets will not be safe for them. Q. Post 1574, June 20th. Abandoned ship. Hussein staff is now talking. They're panicking. Q put up a link to a news story on Yahoo, and the news story reads as follows. Obama cyber chief confirms stand-down order against Russian cyber attacks in the summer of 2016. The White House chief cyber official testified Wednesday that proposals he was developing to counter Russia's attacks on the U.S. presidential election were put on the back burner after he was ordered to stand down his efforts in the summer of 2016. Now, think about this for a second. They are now abandoning ship. They're all coming out and telling you what really happened. Q says, what are we leading up to? We're going to see more of these individuals come out and say what really happened. And everyone now will be turning on these individuals. Think about all the evidence that is coming out now. And I know it took a long time to gather all this evidence, but if you're going to do something right and you're going to make sure that all of this sticks, you just can't come out and say and point a finger, yeah, you did this, you deleted your emails. You needed facts. You needed the information. You needed individuals in the inside looking at all the records, tracking and tracing everything, crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's to make sure that this is escape-proof. And once you have those facts, once you dig deep and you bring it all out into the open, and you bring out even more, guess what happens? Well, the deep state looks at this and they say, wow, they have all this, and they're bringing it out into the open. What else do they have? They start to panic. Those people who don't want to go down with the ship, guess what they do? They squeal on the others. Everyone starts turning and they start pointing fingers. Actually, if you look, Clinton now is firing back at Comey. This whole thing is coming down around them. There is no way out of this. And everyone is going to be going down with the ship, and those people who are abandoning ship, they're going to be pointing the fingers at all of these individuals. And we're going to see so much more come out, and it's going to come out hard and fast because now they have all of it. They have everything. Now they're just going to be presenting it. The corporate media is going to distract everyone. What Trump did today by signing this executive order basically just shut up the corporate media. Now they're going to have to report on something else. Maybe they'll try another false flag. Maybe they'll dig something else up to report on. But all he has to do is shut them down. And then they have to move to another story. Eventually, someone's going to pick up that something else is going on here. And they're going to run out of things to talk about. And we can see right now, it's all falling apart. Slowly but surely, tighten the vice. And that's what is happening. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.